Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Prepare
Oh,
for
no,
some...
Wait.
Oh, I can fix it. I can fix it. Don't worry.
Okay. I'm like, oh no, I'm not in the
Yeah.
right place.
Yeah, so I'm going to do a little bit of admin now just to get this all sorted. There it is. Yeah, I think... Oh, it's disagreeing with me.
You got it. I think
Yeah.
you got it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's... Is that okay?
I can move a little bit over.
Oh, I can open this bit out a little bit. There, that's good. Yeah, so what we're doing today is the first change sort of stories, like the prologues for everything that's happened. And I've given you guys a couple of characters, because the first one we're going to tell is Jenna's character, Thaddeus. We're going to tell his first change story. And I've given you, Finn and Steve, I've given you some NPCs to play. Specifically the two NPCs that you asked to play in the case of like a jock footballer, and in Finn's case, a spoiled, rich, popular girl.
Yes. Cheerleader, excuse me. I'm like I'm the best, and I'm like the leader of the cheerleaders, so like a what? How dare you?
So we're gonna tell...
For the Roll20 thing,
Yeah.
did you... I didn't do anything for that. I don't...
That's okay. I put your sheet on there already for you, just to
I don't see it anywhere, though.
There should be... You don't... Oh, I've got it. You've got to get into... Have you got not got the link? Did the link not get sent to you? It should be in the Discord channel.
What Discord channel? Our group message?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's here. I linked it.
Okay, cool. And then I can... Once you're in, I can just link you to your sheet, and you can use that. So, yeah, for people watching... just give me a slight break, because I haven't run a game like properly in a while, and I may be biting off more than I can chew with this, but we'll see.
You got this.
You got this.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. I'm also using it as like a bellwether to decide whether to run more things on my channel.
Heck yeah.
And if I look kind of like weird and paled out and like tinged red, it's because I have a filter on over my picture. It's not just my natural look. You don't have to be concerned for me. I don't always look like that.
This is not how I look.
Yeah, I don't always look like this. I put a filter on, and then I was like, I didn't like what it looked like without the filter, so I just left the filter on, and I'm concerned. That's just how I look from now on.
Love it.
Yeah. All right, so Jen, I'll just link you to your character. Right there. So now, if you give it like a second, you should be able to see. If you go to like, there's 3 icons. Here's a Roll20 tutorial for everybody. If you go, you see there's like 3 icons along the top, and one says journal. And if you click on the right hand side, like well, there's like 5 icons or 6. I can't count. There's 6 icons, and the middle one says journal. And if you click that, you should be able to see your character, Jenna. And if you click into there, you should be able to access the character sheet. That's all there.
Oh, am I Cindy?
Yeah, you're Cindy, and
Okay, fine.
and Steve, you're Calvin.
Alvin.
Yeah.
Cindy.
Like it? You
And,
even lift, bro?
okay, so are we all ready to go? Are we all ready to kick it off and see how we do?
I'm as ready as we can be, baby.
Heck yeah.
Jenna?
Oh yeah, dice. Yeah, we use just. Oh no,
Well,
we're
we
using.
can use Roll20 for dice. You don't need to worry
Right.
about it. I just figured that would save you some time. And I don't imagine
I have literally cry like.
I don't think
These are all dice.
I can't remember the last time I used actual dice in a role-playing game. I've always used like Roll20 or some variation.
I am cursed, absolutely cursed with digital dice. Yeah. I don't roll. I think I never rolled better than like a 10 or a 12, like in average for like a D20.
Oh yeah.
So like, I don't usually use it, but it's fine. I'll use it. It's okay.
I think that's because.
But if it's cursed, that's the reason why. I'm cursed with digital dice.
I don't think I have an issue because I'm always playing the story. I'm always the storyteller. So really, if it goes badly for me, it just means that the players are doing well, and if it goes well for me, then, haha, take that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. It's 1985. We are in. Where does Thaddeus grow up, Jenna?
Small town, middle America.
Okay, so small town, middle America, and the. Forgive me if I don't necessarily know all the intricacies, but I am a foreign person and I've watched a lot of television, and since all television is American based, I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on it. Whereas if I asked you guys to do, high school in Australia,
yeah, or high school in Italy, which is completely different,
or any other country,
yeah.
Except for Canada, because Degrassi exists and you can watch that.
Right, true.
Yeah. So small town, middle America, and it is the evening of the homecoming, which is to do with football, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Thaddeus, you're attending this. You're attending the homecoming, maybe reluctantly, maybe because it's a small town and you can't really get away with just not attending big things like this. These are things where the whole town sort of turns out and celebrates and honors those people who tend to be in your everyday life a source of much woe and pain and discomfort. And that's what you're seeing. You're sort of mingling in the crowd, maybe trying to keep yourself to the back of it, to be out of the way. The homecoming king and queen, Calvin, who's he's a star of the football team, the sort of person that is just, he's very pleasant to deal with if he thinks you're on his level. If he does not, he is extremely unpleasant man. He's about twice as big and twice as tall as everyone else in like your year at high school. So he kind of gets away with whatever he wants because these are the days before. Bullying still happens, but these are the days when there's no smartphones, no social media to kind of call people out on it. So if no one sees it, you can get away with it. And that's kind of the life that he lives as this one of the luminaries of the school. And with him is Cindy Taverner, who is the head cheerleader, sort of in terms of popularity. She says who's popular and who isn't. It's her decision. And she's decided long ago that you are not. And has been the pretty much the bane of your existence in that regard. They're sort of up on a not really doing anything, but they're up on a dais, sort of like waving and chatting amongst themselves and laughing. Just sort of being honoured in a way that you never will in this school, in this community, in this small town that really defines itself by its football team and the successes thereof. What do you do? How do you feel?
I'm probably sitting with maybe one or two equally as socially awkward friends that also hate their existence right now because they were forced to be here for whatever reason. And I'm taking note of everything that's happening just because these people are very loud and in your face and demand attention. So I'm kind of just reluctantly sitting in the bleachers watching everything unfold quietly.
So as
hating life.
as you sit there, one of the teachers, you recognize him, is the coach, the football team's coach. He's an old man. He's kind of like, he was probably once really sort of buff and strong, but it's kind of been overrun by the fact that he likes to drink probably too much. So he's got like sallow skin.
Beer belly.
Yeah, beer belly, sallow skin that might suggest that maybe that the drinking is starting to do more harm than just weight problems. His eyes are a bit roomy. He's got his hair is kind of it was black once, but it's heavily graying, and he's got a mustache that's like, you know, that real sort of thick, angry mustache, and that one of those necks that sort of, you know, expands and turns red when they're angry. And he comes up to you and your two friends on the bleachers, and he kind of kicks the bleacher next to you enough to shake it. And it's like, it's a celebration! Get celebrating!
Okay. I kind of like jump and startled and look to my friend.
Ah, you're such a pussy!
Like, woo! Go team, go!
Are you mocking me? Are you mocking me?
I would never do such a thing.
Better fucking not be mocking me. I can put you in detention. I can put you in detention for your whole fucking life.
Yeah, coach, tell him.
And he sort of waves.
Jesus.
Zach, you know what? I'm not putting up with this. Come with me. And he sort of grabs you by the shoulder and like manhandles you to your feet.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
And he's like
I
frog
don't
marching.
feel like I'm big enough to really do much
No,
of it.
not at this point. He's
kind of small and scrawny.
He's like a big sort of big chunk of
He's a man,
beef.
man.
Big chunk of beef man. And he sort of frog marches you down off the bleachers towards the dais, and he's like, "Hey, you're one of those geeks. You know about like stereos and speakers and all that shit." Yeah?
Yeah. Sure.
Well, you look after this. Make sure it's... And he like sort of points to like the and it's a complicated array of things. Like, yeah, and it's also like a complicated sort of array of like, you know, the switches and dials and stuff, because they put out all their money they pour into these sort of things, and it's also probably nothing you've seen before. He's just sort of like assuming that you can do it, and he's like, it's like, you do this. It's like you handle this. Make sure it plays the national anthem properly. I don't want any feedback in the speakers. Hey, don't argue with me, just fucking do it.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yep.
And he goes, I'm gonna get a smoke. And he sort of walks away, lighting up a cigarette. And you're left with this sort of this big panel in front of you connected to all the speakers. And up on the stage, the principal sort of moves up to the microphone and starts tapping it, and there's no response. And he kind of turns his head and looks down at you, Thaddeus, and he's like, points at it like...
I'm just gonna frantically start pushing buttons and like turning dials.
There's like some heinous like screeching like feedback and stuff, and the crowd start booing, like boo.
turn off whatever started that noise and just click a different one. Like,
and finally,
working?
suddenly the microphone sort of starts, and the principal says, "Okay, little technical hiccup there," and everyone kind of laughs like derisively because you can be seen from where you are. You're like sitting next to the platform, and they kind of like laugh derisively at you, and he says, "So, we're all here to celebrate. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I'm just going to say, everyone, let's put your hands together for our homecoming king and queen." And then everyone sort of starts cheering, like, "Yeah, woo! Yeah!" They're clapping their hands and like wolf whistling and stuff. Someone throws a football to you, Calvin.
Catches it and he raises his arm in the air and he's just like, "Yeah."
The principal kind of laughs and says, "Now, if anyone's gonna get out of this, go on to do bigger things and better things, it's these two, and I think you should all be looking to them as shining examples of who you should be striving to be here at this school. And now, I'd like you all to please be upstanding for the national anthem." And he looks at you, Thaddeus, and you've got no idea, like this, like you don't know what button you
Just wide-eyed, just standing there like wide-eyed, like.
Someone in the front row of people just sort of says, "Get it together, dickhead!" Throws like a cup of like booze at your head and it like bounces off. You're covered in like warm, bitter smelling beer that kind of like spills down through your hair. And
Fun.
people like there's more laughter in the crowd. And the principal kind of like...
Which was thinking about when he asked that loser to like take care of this. Like, look at him. Ridiculous.
The coach kind of storms back over Thaddeus and grabs you by the shoulder and like spins you around like bodily. And he's in your face, like, flecks of spit as he's shouting at you and he's waving his finger in your face and that mustache is bristling. It's like, "What the fuck are you doing? I told you to do this correctly! What is wrong with you? Are you fucking brain dead? I have to beat some fucking sense into you?" And while this is all happening, Jenna, what I'll get you to do is get onto Thaddeus's character sheet and give me a quick... if you click... You see the button for rage? If you scroll
You see the
down...
button for rage? Rage!
If you scroll down, you should see rage.
On the actual character sheet, you mean?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you give that a click for me. Does it say anything?
Uh-huh. It says pull. Do I need to put 3? Because that's what my rage is at.
Yeah.
There's no number. Okay.
Yep.
And then it just says submit.
Yep. And we should get a roll. Did it not?
It's asking me difficulty.
Yeah, difficulty in this case is 4.
Oh.
Okay. So as the coach is screaming at you and those flecks of spit are like hitting your forehead. Does your character wear glasses?
No.
Okay. So the flecks of
Actually,
spit...
we'll say yeah. We'll say they're probably big like the ones I wear, like those old 80s.
And they're
glasses.
like the flecks of spit are like hitting the glasses. The crowd is laughing. Cindy's kind of rolling her eyes and I can't believe that the coach asked this idiot to do this.
Yeah, exactly what I was saying before, and kind of yelling it, like you would hear it 100%.
Calvin's just kind of laughing and grinning. Yep. Yeah, and you can feel inside you this like bristling anger, and it's like you felt this before, but never this strongly, and it feels like fire. Like it's inside you, like all of like wherever your heart might be is a furnace instead of a beating organ. It's like molten metal, and you can feel it like pouring into your veins, and you just like that sort of anger that you get where you squeeze your fist so tight that your nails dig into your, and it's like it's just ripping through, and he doesn't seem to notice, and he's like sort of still holding you by the shoulder and pointing in your face. He's like, "You want to hit me? You want to hit me? You think you're tough?" And what I'll get you to do now, what I'll get you to do is if you scroll down a little further from rage, you'll see the middle you'll see the word Krenos over that big angry looking fella with the claws and the teeth.
Yeah.
And click that word Krenos. And you are now, you feel your body, and this is a painful experience. This is not like I just suddenly transform in a puff of smoke. Like you feel your bones break themselves and then reshape themselves. Like you're healing at a quick, like a rapid clip, but your body is reshaping itself. Like muscle mass sort of comes out of nowhere. Your height extends. Your vision is becomes more acute, but it sort of has like a red tinge to it, like an angry red tinge. And the only thing, all of the people that were in the background, sort of laughing and sneering, they kind of fade away into like a messy grey blur. And the only thing that you see is the coach and he's outlined red. Like your mind has singled him out and focused on him, and you grow much taller than you were. You feel suddenly stronger, but your mind, like the human part of your mind, recedes, and what pulls forward is something like animal instinct that just insists that you rip and tear and destroy. And this is an enemy. This is an enemy, and you were built to destroy your enemies. So, what would you like to do now that you are 8-foot tall war machine?
Come at me now, bro. Yeah. So after I feel like before like my brain takes over into like just that animalistic, there would probably be waves of confusion mixed with pain as I just react to this crazy process of what's happening to my body. I'd kind of cry out in pain here and there, but then once it was like kind of finalized and I'm kind of hovering over this man, I think the first thing that I would do is just kind of let out a loud sort of roar, so to speak. I don't know what these creatures sound like.
A roar is very accurate. His eyes widen like saucers. Like he's paralyzed with whatever it is, fear, or most likely fear. And he sort of collapses back, and he's like, he doesn't even scramble away. He just he's like sitting there on the floor with his hand, sort of propped up on his hands, and he's staring up at you, and he's just like, all the blood drains from his face, and his hands grasp at the ground, and he's just staring up at you, and he's still highlighted, your instincts still focus on him, and he's a threat, he's an enemy, and your blood is screaming at you to tear this thing apart. And what I'll get you to do is click on your willpower and give me a difficulty 7 willpower roll.
This doesn't automatically fill in your stuff. What's the difficulty?
7. All right, you can. Now this is entirely up to you. You do have the mental fortitude at the moment to resist the urge to tear this guy. Also, by the way, I think it does include your. You might have to roll that again. It does include your dice. It's just that's a modifier is what it's asking for. So you rolled 12 dice then instead of 6. That's what it was.
Okay.
So if you just sorry about that. No, it's Roll20 is it's a hit and miss because all the sheets are made by the community. So some of them make sense and others they just kind of like they make sense to whoever made them, but not necessarily to people using them.
It's still 3 successes.
Cool. All right. So we will. You have the option to at this moment in time you are in control of the monster that you've become, but it's a fleeting thing. You don't feel like you will be keeping this control. It's sort of like you're fighting for it with something else that you always knew was there, but you've never like sort of encountered until just now. And it's kind of it's insisting that you tear this man to pieces, and it's telling you that you can. It's so easy. It'd be like tearing a sheet of paper in half. It's nothing. And meanwhile, around you, the crowd is dispersing at a rapid pace, just screaming. Some people kind of have gone into like a sense of catatonia, where they're just kind of standing and staring. And Cindy and Calvin are kind of stuck up on the raised platform, where because the stairs have been destroyed as people rush down off of the platform, so they're kind of up on a raised thing.
So do I have? I'm assuming I have like large claws.
Yeah,
like
claws and teeth.
Okay.
And you can. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna ignore this opportunity to not kill this man, because Thaddeus has spent most of his life being bullied by people much larger than him, and this is something different is happening within him, where this is sort of the first time in his life he has the opportunity to do something about it.
Yeah.
He doesn't probably know what the fuck is going on, but that's fine. And because he doesn't really, I think he's not cognitively realizing all of what is going on with his body. He's going to sort of reach forward for this man and just kind of dig his claws into his sides and like bring him back. Because like that's one thing that a lot of people, anytime Thaddeus would try to retreat or get away or remove himself from these situations, you know, it's like the grabbing his shirt and dragging him back, and just the bullies they were relentless. They never let him escape from the torture that they had. So that's sort of, I feel like, would be his natural response, because that's what he's witnessed on the other side, is like, oh no, you don't get to get away. You don't get to stop this. So he would reach out and sort of just dig, kind of unbeknownst to him, dig his large claws and kind of pull this man back in, and sort of let out another roar, and then instinctively just sort of rip his throat out.
So your claws, when you grab him, the claws, these are like, they're talons, they're long and sharp, and they don't just scratch him, they dig into him like you know, like a hot knife through butter. And Calvin and Cindy are witnessing this from up on the platform, and like blood is pooling down his, like, you know, white polo shirt that he's wearing. And then the giant creature that was the Thaddeus a minute ago sort of tears his throat out with his teeth, and just like the coach lets out a gurgling sort of plaintive cry before like being thrown to the ground. And Thaddeus, actually, I'll give Calvin and Cindy a chance to react to that. Bearing in mind you are feeling this natural kind of fear that is embedded in all human beings, that demands they sort of flee. Unless you want to give me a willpower roll to try and overcome that. Or if you...
No, I probably think that Cindy would fucking leave, bruh. Like, you kidding me?
Calvin is probably going to grab her by the shoulder and say, "What the fuck is that?" And like try to run with her.
Yeah.
I thought you said like he was going to grab her by the shoulder and throw her at
I was gonna say, let's be real. Calvin would be using her as a shield. 'Cause he's the actual pussy in the room. He's not as
I
tough
have
as
my
he
whole
actually
future
is.
ahead of me.
And the whole future.
So is that what
I
happens?
just signed with Penn State. No.
Yep.
Yeah,
He's gonna like kind of push her, and he's gonna try to run.
All right. In that case, I'll get you to give me. Well, Matt, I think a check will be interesting here. So, if you, Calvin, if you want to, I'll set up a dice pool for you, and then all you've got to do is just click it.
Christ.
You've got. So we're going to give it a little bit of a check here just to see if see how successful this
This
is.
is gonna be fun.
So it'll be your strength and athletics. I would say there's probably a modifier of 1 just because Cindy's probably not expecting you to throw her in front of the werewolf.
Throw her to the wolves.
Yeah, and I'll leave it at...
Save me,
Yeah.
Calvin.
So if it's, I've made one called Throw Cindy. So if you scroll down to your dice pools, you should see it.
Yep.
And I'll give Cindy an opportunity. I'll make one for Cindy too to resist being thrown.
Yeah.
In the future, I probably won't be this like I have dice pools like this, but I just think it's resist throwing. I just think it would be
Pretty funny.
Just throwing, and then I just roll it.
Just give me a second. I've got to put the stuff in.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, you should have them both in there. So yeah, you both roll at the same time. We'll see who succeeds. -2. Oh.
Take her. I'm too good looking to die.
Oh wow.
So yes,
Cindy,
Cindy, you get fucking
get fucked.
you get bodied off of the
Right her
platform.
nose.
Evelyn, thank you for the raid. We're in the middle of the game, so I can't really stop and talk to everybody, but I'll just let you know that we are at a homecoming celebration in 1985, Middle America. One of the nerds has just turned into a werewolf and has eaten the coach, and now the football star has thrown the head cheerleader to the werewolf in order to get away. And that's so, Cindy. You find yourself plummeting off the. It's not so far to fall, but you land basically at the monster's feet. And Thaddeus, you see this because your vision in this sort of form, your vision is based heavily on movement. Not like a T-Rex where you can't see things that aren't moving, but that's where your focus goes. You see,
And little arms.
you see this woman fall from the platform and land at your feet. And you're sort of looming over her now.
How
I'm probably
cognitive
screaming at
am
this
I?
point.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Would I have like seen that whole thing? Because I was gonna say after I bit his throat, I would have sort of looked toward them and like let out another kind of roar as like blood is just like coming out of my mouth. So would I have seen like
you'd have
Calvin
seen it, but
push
you're
it and running, scurrying away?
Yeah, your cognition at this point is limited. You're not like eventually maybe you'll learn to control this sort of form, but right now it's just
death and destruction.
you're just bristling with anger, and you just want to take that anger out on everyone.
Cool.
And
Sorry,
everything.
Cindy.
Do you want to describe? Do you want to describe what the werewolf? What the
he
werewolf
looks
that
like?
Cindy is seeing looks like?
Oh, yes. Okay, so, hold on. Thaddeus well, I guess you guys don't have a frame of reference, but he's a little bit smaller than, like, when we see other werewolves in this form.
Yeah.
And so he's a little bit smaller, and his coat is a like beautiful white, like just snow white color with little hints of like gray, kind of not stripes. They're kind of like stripes, but they're not like perfect stripings. You know what I mean? sort of mixed in with his fur. And I mean, he looks really big and mean and scary, so there's that. He's muscular, but you guys don't have a frame of reference because you've never seen this before. But he is a little bit smaller in stature than like the average.
So he's smaller, but he's also probably bigger than any human you've ever seen, just because.
Right.
But big werewolves get big, but he's and I like the idea of that lovely white fur is now like basically coated.
Coated
in the coach's blood from where you bit his throat out. So
it's all dripping and draining down his chest and his arms. Is once beautifully white colored, they probably would look pretty in not this circumstance. Are stained with red blood from the man that was just screaming in his face.
Cindy, what would you like to do in this situation?
Scream and probably like try to like scooch backwards, you know, like when you when you're trying to escape but you just fucking fell to your face and you're trying to like kind of just gain a little bit of distance, but it's probably like she probably wouldn't be able to do anything. I know that just seeing something like that sends like, you know, a human being. It
like, paralyzes your brain. Like it.
Yeah. So
if you want to hit the pursuit button on your dice pools, that could see whether you sort of effectively scramble or not.
Okay, I can do that.
that.
Yeah, she would probably try to do that. Like I think that's the only response that.
Okay, that's 2 successes. Okay. Thaddeus, do you want to try and give chase? I suppose your natural instinct is to do so, but it's up to you whether you want to try and override that.
Sense.
Yeah.
I feel like his attention is on her now. He's in this sort of, he's already got the taste of blood in his mouth and he's not stopping kind of thing. You know, it's kind of like a shark when they're hunting their prey. They're like...
Yeah. So you should have a button called Pursuit as well.
You don't stop, I guess.
You should have a button called Pursuit as well to give chase to... This will kind of decide whether Cindy manages to get up and get away, or whether or not, basically.
Yeah.
Pursue.
If I get stopped first, it's in the dice
here we
pool,
go.
so we just click on it. It gets me.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Cindy, you scramble to your feet and you do manage to get moving, but this creature that Thaddeus has turned into is not. It's not a slow and lumbering kind of animal. It moves like stupidly quick, and is manages to sort of pounce you and tackle you down. And if you want to roll, actually, I'm not going to get you to roll damage because there's no there's no
Cindy can't stop this from happening.
No, I can't do shit. I'm gonna die.
Poor Cindy. Okay.
I can't believe I'm gonna die a virgin.
Okay. So, I don't know how much detail we want to go into, but Cindy is torn.
We can just leave it at I'm gonna get
it's like
fucked, but not in a nice way. You know?
Think of like a horror movie thing where like the werewolf kind of jumps on Cindy and then it cuts away to Calvin sort of.
And that's all you hear in the background.
Running.
He's just running across the field. He's like on
just running.
This shit, I'm out.
Yeah.
I am out.
And Calvin, as you're running, sort of a man in what looks like a sort of torn and shredded kind of hoodie. He's very sort of, he looks, maybe you'd think he was a homeless man to start with. He's got like a long sort of scraggly beard and his features are very weathered, and his arm reaches out to stop you, and you should think a guy this small would not have the sort of strength to stop you running at full speed. But it's like hitting an iron bar, and he kind of plants his hand in your chest. And as you topple sort of down onto the ground, he sort of looks at you. He says, "Where is he?
What you want, man?
Where is he?
Fucking monster back there.
Ah!"
Where's who?
He just sort of like, when you say there's a monster back there, he just looks away from you and he runs forward, and what you notice is as he sort of bounds in that direction, his whole body kind of fluidly changes into a similar sort of monstrous werewolf shape as Thaddeus. And he charges. He's very tall and lean. He's not as muscle bound, and he leaves you on the ground. Like he has no concern for you now. And he gets to you, Thaddeus, while you're kind of mid dismembering Cindy, and tackles you off of the body. And he's got much more control than you do. And he sort of tries to pin your arms down, and he barks at you in like, it's like a different language. It's like a language consisting of like growls and maybe like human sounding words but mixed together, and for some reason that language makes sense to you, and he just tells you to stop. And you might not particularly want to stop. It's up to you, but you may find yourself it's up to you. I'll give you this story choice. Do you think that your rage would sort of push you on to keep like sort of thrashing things, or do you think Thaddeus is the kind of person who might, when like compelled to stop by something like bigger and stronger, even in this form, might sort of stop?
I think normally Thaddeus would submit.
Yeah.
Because he's so used to kind of being pushed around. But I think in this moment, like just the pure rage and adrenaline and realizing that he has control and for once he's the most powerful person in the room.
Yeah.
I think that would kind of be just at the forefront of his mind of like, no, you're not going to stop me. Like I finally did something. I finally took control away from these people who've been like tormenting my whole life.
Yeah.
So I do think he would fight back against in that moment. Naturally, in a normal circumstance, I think he would normally be like, yeah, okay, you're right. Chill, bro. But he's so kind of caught up in everything that's going on and just this rage that's been like bubbling at the surface for probably years and years after all of the things that he's sort of dealt with in his life, that it's like now that it's spilled over, there's like no stopping it. So I do think he would kind of snarl and snap and kind of fight the...
So as he tries to fight back this sort of more slender sort of werewolf, it kind of like jumps free. It's very quick and it moves like, you know, with like kind of like lightning speed. And it doesn't attack him. It doesn't seem to be like actively trying to... It sort of just... It seems almost like he's corralling
We're dancing.
you. Like he's kind of like... He's sort of urging you away from the direction of the fleeing people, who have by this point, like, they're out past the bleachers and in the parking lot. Cars are like, you know, revving up. Some have just left their cars behind and just taken off
just
down
running.
the road. And he's kind of ushering you in the direction of one of the cornfields that kind of surrounds this big open area. That's usually a baseball diamond, but is being co-opted for the homecoming. And he's kind of urging you in that direction. And sort of, it seems almost like giving you this simplistic option of either you have to go through him or you can turn and go the other way and see what you find over there.
Okay. I do feel like once he does that, like, the real true Thaddeus will kind of start slowly taking over as like he's realizing you're like you lost it, bro.
Yeah.
You need to kind of chill out. Especially like seeing this person that is clearly like authoritative and trying to correct him and direct him in a better way, so to speak. I feel like that's how whatever cognitive decision he can make, I think that feeling would sort of resonate. It's like, I'm stopping you from making a big mistake kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I also think Thaddeus would question if he could even get past this guy, because he's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And I think like that weird reasoning, like of like maybe I'm not sure how this all works, but like his human brain almost like going back and forth just in this weird moment of like, what the fuck is going on? Oh my god, what? Oh, yeah. And then like cognitively on that weird like just beast. I feel like he would be struggling between the two.
So as a result of that, Thaddeus blacks out, like the consciousness kind of like just
great,
because like that struggle and when you wake up, you are no longer in that form. You are yourself again, and it almost feels like it was like just a really sort of lucid dream, except when you realize that you're lying on grass and not at home in your bed. You're not wearing anything, and you're lying partially in the dismembered remains of a cheerleader whose head you can see as your eyes open, whose head is staring back at you and not connected to her body. As you wake up, you slowly come to, and you barely remember what happened. Like it's not clear to you now. You could be forgiven for not remembering it at all because it was a very traumatic experience, and your brain was kind of like, especially with that struggle at the end, it was kind of like, let's just put this in a box and shove it under the bed, and we'll think about
file that away for never remembering it ever again.
And there's a man in like a decrepit sort of looking man with like a weathered face and a hoodie, and he looks at you as you wake up. Well, you just sort of hear his voice, and he says, "We better go now." Now-ish. Yeah.
I think the first thing he would do is kind of sit up and cover his exposed body, because that's shocking.
It's like, I'm sorry I don't have any clothes for you. I didn't think I would be... Honestly, I thought you were. I didn't think you were even going to exist. I kind of came out here on a whim. And, here you are. I mean, I sound delighted, which in the circumstances seems inappropriate, but ultimately it is a good thing that has happened here. And then as he says that, he sort of notices Cindy's head kind of staring up at him impassively, and he kind of, one booted foot, he kind of like kicks it under the ruined bleachers, so it's no longer staring at the both of you. He's like, ignore that. He's like, ignore that.
Thaddeus just kind of like watches the head roll away and kind of like rubs his temples and is like, okay, okay. Can we just...
If you're going to say, can we go back and talk to Mum and Dad? Or can we go and talk to your friends or anything? No. The answer to that is a resounding no. They're not going to
I just want to get out of here.
Oh, that so do I. What a surprise. I've got a van, and I know you have all those lessons about don't get in a van with a guy, but in this case, you're gonna want to get in this guy's van. Okay?
As long as I don't have to continue to lie here nude in someone else, I'm fine with that. He's gonna kind of like stumble to his feet.
All right. Well, come on, then. Come on, then.
He's still trying to like cover his body up, like, oh god. It's like side-eyeing the man, like, you're looking at me, don't look at me.
So cut to like, let's say like 2 hours later, and the man who's introduced himself as Rat Boy, his name is Rat Boy. He introduced himself as, and when you sort like, even if you sort of questioned his name, he's like, it's Rat Boy. It's what I'm called. And he says, he sort of leans across. He's got you clothes.
Cool.
You don't know where. He just kind of he parked the van in between two shops at one point. Got out, came back like half an hour later with clothes, and just sort of threw them to you.
Cool.
He sort of directed you to like a gas station bathroom to clean yourself off in, and then took off. Then you both took off very quickly afterwards because the gas station bathroom was full of blood.
Yeah.
And other viscera. And so now you're sort of driving down this empty highway flanked by cornfields. And he says, so I'm not one of you, so to speak. And before you ask what you are, I'm not really the one to tell you. But let's just say I have a job where I sort of go around and I look for people like you, and I stop them from doing things like you did. So obviously I'm 0 for 1 at the moment. But that's okay. You know, these things, they happen. Who's gonna miss another human, you know? Or two. At least you didn't kill all of them. At least that handsome football player got away. He had so much to live for. He turns on the radio for a moment, and you hear a wild bear massacres 2 at homecoming parade. And he turns it up and says, let's not listen to that. Anyway, so I'm taking you to see a friend of mine who's like you. He's the one that kind of told me to look out for you. So that's what I'm doing. We're probably not going to see each other again after this. He can explain why you turned into a giant wolf monster and ate people. And unfortunately, it's going to be a recurring thing. But hey, he'll teach you to deal with it, manage it, you know, do it in a way that works for you. Oh, I mean, it doesn't work for you because you probably would, if you had a choice, would not want to be a wolf man. But anyway, he's going to do that. And
Instilling a lot of confidence right now.
that's not my job. My job is to make sure you don't get put in a police van and kill police and then turn into some sort of like feral urban legend creature that eats high schoolers. That yeah, okay.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so we're heading up north. We're gonna cross the border. I'm gonna put you in this guy's hands. If you're worrying about like your family or anything, forget all that. That's gone. That's not a thing anymore. Yeah. I mean, we can go back and tell them, but if they get upset at you and you get upset, it's just gonna be more the cheerleader and the coach.
Yeah, I don't think I really wanna kill my family, so.
Well, that's good for you. That's a good attitude to take. Don't kill your family. And he sort of laughs.
Prefer not to.
And he says, and then sort of after a bit, he kind of like, you sort of driving along. There's like a lake, not a lake, but like a pond almost on the side of the road. And he pulls into the gravel, and like spits up gravel behind the van, and he goes, "Okay, we're here." And this is the middle of nowhere. This is just a pond on the edge of the road in a cornfield. He's like, "Get out!" And he sort of gestures you over towards the cornfield, and up to the pond, and he kind of crouches next to the pond and looks at the surface of it. And he's looking at his reflection, and you sort of, if you come up alongside him, you can see your own reflection.
Lean over, like.
Yeah. And then he sort of reaches out to grab you by the wrist, and even though you're small yourself, he's probably smaller than you when he's in his human like this. But his grip is like an iron vice, like there's no pulling out of it. And he touches the water, and rather than sort of just go into the water like splash, it's almost like the water kind of reacts and crawls up his arm, like the reflection. And then the next thing you know, you're both toppling forward, and you are moving through what looks like the world, but like a more vivid version of the world. Like the colors are brighter, and the time of day has changed to evening. The sky is like this velvet sprawl with stars sprinkled on it. The moon, you can see, is massive, like much bigger than you'd ever see the moon on a regular day. Like, it's dominating the sky, and the light from the moon is kind of making a path or a road underneath you, and you follow that and he sort of pulls you along to follow that path of light that sort of moves between two like pulsing archways of light through this weird like in between place. And he's like, and you can see they look like animals, but like archetypical versions of animals, like the perfect sort of version of like a stag runs past, and there's a rabbit and it hops across the path as well, and they kind of like stop and look at you, and it's not with that sort of that prey look, that just kind of blank expression as I'm just paying attention to something that's moving. It's like with recognition, like there's intelligence behind those looks, and they all look at you as you pass through, and the rat boy kind of grips your hand and tugs you along, says, "Don't talk to them. No time to talk to them." And he pulling you.
I can talk to them?
No, you shouldn't. Not yet. I mean, maybe we'll see. And then he pulls you through along this pathway until you pass through the other arch, and suddenly you're somewhere cold. This isn't where you grew up. This is nothing like you grew up. It's mountainous. There's like snow, like kind of like a sprinkling of snow underfoot. A cold breeze. Like you couldn't really guess where you are, but it's nowhere near where you are because you've barely even seen a mountain. Well, you might have seen like a lump in the ground and like thought that was a mountain, but these are mountains.
A hill.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, here we are, and it just seems like you're in the middle of nowhere, but far away now.
Is it exactly that we are?
And he sort of looks around. He's like, I don't know. They've never actually invited me before. Usually we do the handoff like farther away. Well, that's what they told me. But anyway, I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna leave you here.
Wait, you're leaving me?
Yeah. You'll be fine. I'm gonna leave you here, and they'll come and get you. And yeah, it was nice to meet you. Tell your friends about me, I guess. I don't know. Not like I have a business card.
Okay.
I'm glad that you only killed 2 people and not more. Oh.
Sorry, my cat. It's like desperately trying to get off of his cat tree.
And yeah, nice to meet you. And he sort of turns around and he goes back. There's like a sort of, not like a puddle, but it sounds more like a lake, like where you sort of came out of, even though you didn't get wet as you came out of it. And he kind of like just looks at it for a second and pops back into it, and he disappears beneath the surface, and he's gone. And you are alone in this clearing. You are alone in this clearing that you don't recognize. And then, just when you like, and it's not instantaneous. It's like 10 minutes of just kind of standing in the middle of this clearing. A duo of wolves, like actual wolves, emerge from the trees, and just kind of sit and look at you. Do the tilting of the head. They look at you for a minute, and then
I tilt my head back.
They sort of mimic you, they're clearly doing what you're doing, and then one of them just sort of gets up and walks back the way they came, and the other one, which it's hard to explain, but seems more like placid and brighter and nicer. It's hard to tell how you would know this just looking at wolves, but you get this instinctive feeling that it's a nicer wolf than the other one. Kind of like jerks its head in the direction that it's going and starts to walk. And it's beckoning you to follow it.
Okay. I look around at the vast emptiness of this strange world I've just walked into from a lake that wasn't a lake, and start to follow him or it.
Yes. And at that point, we fade to black on Thaddeus's first change story. And we open on... Who should we do next? Who wants to go next? Because I can do either. I've got them both in my head.
I think we should
I can go
do
first.
Finn, because then it's happy, because we just had
Oh, yeah.
a crazy
Yeah,
traumatic
actually,
one.
because Steve's one's going to be similarly traumatic, so maybe we should end on that. So Finn,
Have some good.
Yes.
you are in the cairn of the polar bear. It's far northern Alaska, near the northern shore. It's in like a national sort of wilderness, like a national park, but not far from the oil fields where they pull a lot of oil out of the what's called the northern slope. You grew up here. Your parents were Garu, the werewolf defenders of the earth. You didn't know you didn't really know either of them actually, but you knew your mother better than you knew your father. Your father you never met. He was either no one ever really speaks of him. You've sort of surmised that perhaps he was from a different cairn or a different Sept, and he was just passing through. Your mother sort of left soon after because she was commanded by her elders, and this is just the story that you've been told, commanded by her elders to sort of give you up to this Sept, the Sept of the polar bear, and you've been raised ever since by like a surrogate parental figure called Tender of Wounds. And if you will look at your journal right now, Jenny, you'll see Tender of Wounds is there, and that is your...
Okay.
And Steve, you should have one called
Tender wound.
Anna Bitterheart.
Oh, she's cute.
Yeah.
And a bitter heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, Tender of Wounds has raised you. She's like a middle-aged Garu. She's a lupus herself, which means she was born as a wolf and not a human. She was a wolf and not a human, but she spends most of her time in human form because, as you know, you were born a metis, which is when two Garu have a child, which is forbidden by like the litany, which is the law of your people, but it's also one of those things where it's forbidden, but it still happens all the time. It's basically the equivalent would be in religion, where religion's like, you should not do this, and then people do it anyway, and the religion's like, well, you know, some people in the religion are like, that's heinous, we hate that, and other people in the religion are like, who cares? So you were born an albino, so you were, not only were you born an albino, but you were born in the Krenos, the werewolf shape that in our last prologue, Thaddeus turned into an Ada cheerleader as. You were born in that shape, so you were. Not only did you claw your way out of your mother's stomach with nasty werewolf talons, but you've been in that shape your entire life. So you've always had that kind of feeling of viciousness and rage, although it's not, you've had it for so long that it's easier to control. And also, it means you've always felt more sort of in communion with the environment around you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Tender of Wounds has raised you.
Mm-hmm.
You were sort of given to her shortly after your birth. And for the last, 10 or 13 years, she's been your guardian. And you find yourself now in the this in the Sept of the polar bear, which is a small sort of alcove in the rocks, but a strong place of spiritual energy where it coalesces, and it's overseen by a very elderly Garu, and you know from being raised amongst the people that elderly is not something that happens very often. Like generally, the litany says you will not suffer others to tend to your illness. So basically, what's always been the case is when a Garu gets too old, they just either go off and get themselves into a suicidal fight, so they die fighting the worm, or they just disappear into the wilderness and you never see them again. But grandmother, who's the leader of the set here, is old. Like she was old when you're young, so it makes sense that she's been old as long as you know. But when you talk to Tender of Wounds says that she's been old as long as Tender of Wounds has known her, and everyone else in the Sept says she's always been old, and she's always been there. No one can remember a time when she was not there. And you find yourselves today at the Sept. It's this little sort of in the rocky alcove. It's kind of almost like the moss and the plants have grown in a way that caters for you to sit and rest. And Anna is there as well. Anna Bitterheart and Tender of Wounds are there with you. And grandmother's kind of seated on a pile of rugs and furs, and she's got her hands folded in her lap. Oh, thank you. The Onyx Path is rating. Thank you very much. Wow. The publishers of this game. So grandmother is seated on her furs, and she nods to Gwen, our Finite's character, and says, I believe that your time is fast approaching. It's almost time for you to have your change. And Anna, you don't like this. You hate Metis at the best of times. They are an obvious defilement of the litany. They've just become, the fact that they've accepted her into this cairn, you feel like it's just inviting chaos and the worm and trouble into your life. And you hate this, and you've always spoken against it. But grandmother's always kind of said, you respect grandmother too much to argue too much with her, but this is the fact that they're preparing to help this Metis through her first change, and then they're going to accept her as a cub, and then probably going to accept her as a full-fledged member is just upsetting. Meanwhile, Tender of Wounds, you've raised her like a daughter. She's basically a surrogate child for you.
Baby's all grown up.
Yeah, and this is a great day. This is a great day for you. So just to give you two a feeling of where you two are at in this whole thing. And so grandmother looks at Gwen and says, do you feel ready?
Right.
It's going to be very interesting when you have a full set of vocal cords. They're going to have to teach you how to speak. And she sort of laughs to herself. It says, so I want you to go out of the cairn with Tender of Wounds and Anna. And, well, I would say let nature take its course. And so she sort of turns to you, Anna, and you, Tender of Wounds, and says, let you take the lead. And I will let you take the lead here. You can sort of, because I've got an idea of what's going to happen, and you guys can just sort of head out and say what you want.
We are in wolf form, correct?
You can be.
Or
if you
not. Oh, okay.
Because Gwen is always in the werewolf form. You two can choose whatever form you'd like to be in. Your form is naturally, your breed form is a tender of wounds. Your breed form is a lupus, so you become like it's easier for you to be a wolf. Whereas Anna's is I believe a lupus as well, or a homid.
Yeah, Anna's a lupus.
Okay,
as well.
so you're both. It's easy to be in wolf form, but you tender of wounds prefer human form when dealing with Gwen because Gwen's, bipedal, and it's easier to be a parent to a bipedal child when you are also bipedal. That's just a fact.
Okay.
Anna will sneer at Gwen and then go into wolf form.
Okay, so with that said, then I wouldn't be in wolf form in this present moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like she would kind of. So I'm assuming Gwen is quite large, though, right? Right? Again, she's big. She's bigger than me.
I'm like, I don't think like I'm 100% full grown. Am I full grown at this point?
No, but still, because you're a Krynos, you're basically like if because Krynos adds 4 feet and like what 300 pound of muscle.
Yeah,
you're like,
I'm probably like past 6 feet.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a kid with gigantism.
Right. So Tinder is gonna see her as a child. Like she does.
Yeah.
She's not seeing her as this like huge beast.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna look in any other circumstance it would be kind of strange for this to happen. But she'll sort of take your hand as you like begin walking together. So it looks awkward because you wouldn't expect this sort of interaction happening. Yeah, and like very tenderly does it as she begins to walk
for some reason
Anna.
For some reason it puts in my mind the image of when you see someone walking a chimp, like when they're holding the chimp's hand and they're just like
yeah, that's what's happening.
So yeah, you find
and she will sort of. This is something that they sort of prepare for, correct?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. So she'll sort of begin walking with Gwen and sort of look up at her and be like, it's going to be just like we've been practicing. You're going to do great. Just kind of trying to make her feel relaxed and confident as she goes into this strange unknown of what's happening.
Gwen is gonna reply with a growl of some sort, just I guess it's not necessarily that she knows how to talk yet, not properly, few words, but it's not real speech.
Yeah, so just words in the Garu language, but just single words,
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah.
So, Anna, are you waiting for them outside of the cairn?
Yeah, and once he hears her say that, he'll kind of give she'll give almost like a mocking half bark.
Ooh. So
Tinder will do that mama bear thing, where she kind of narrow her eyes at her,
so
silently scowl her.
And yeah, Gwen is I guess comparatively to she would be a little smaller. She's albino. Her eyes are a pinkish red. She's completely white, everything white, and yeah, she is it day or night?
It's daytime at the moment.
Okay, she does not like daytime. She's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Daytime hurts.
It's luckily you're kind of the canopies of the trees are heavy.
Yeah, we're inside. If we're inside the forest, it's fine. But if she's in the sun, direct, you can see that she's always uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's approaching evening anyway. So you sort of meet outside of the cairn, and the usual method for this is you just kind of go out. And I'll point out that none of you have any experience with a meta's first change because for you, Tender of Wounds, this is the first Metis you've ever met. Anna, you've met others, but you didn't care about them to the point where you knew what it was like for their first change or anything.
Yeah, she doesn't like him, so she doesn't care about it.
Yeah. Also, it's still around the same period, so it's around 1985. So you find yourselves sort of out in the forest.
I feel like Gwen, because she was raised like by a lupus, like she would probably have been obsessed with the idea of wanting to be a wolf herself.
Yeah. And that in the Krynos form, you
would eventually transform into that form once they get where they're going. And I think that would be like the consensus of like, this is what you've been surrounded by most of your life. So
yeah, and in the Krynos form, you're capable of like running on all fours like a wolf. Like it's like, so you're not forced to like waddle along behind them as they run ahead as wolves. You might not be as fast as them, but you are, you can sort of keep up if they don't sort of pull out all the stops and go as fast as they can. And you've got no real experience. Oh, sorry.
Later, bitch.
You've got no real experience with this kind of situation, but grandmother's kind of told you that, you'll go out, there'll be some, the spirits will kind of commune with you, but she was very vague about it. It's about time. If it's the right time, then Gwen will be given the ability to change her shape. And so you're sort of heading out into the forest in search of spirits to commune with you. And that's... I'll give you a second to sort of have like some conversation between you, because like I know that so like Anna and Tender have different opinions on this whole situation, and I'd like to give you sort of chances to sort of roleplay that and voice your opinions. I'll let Anna go first, because Anna's sort of been eye-rolling and mocking with barks in the background.
Now, in the wolf form, can they still communicate with each other?
You are skilled enough that you can kind of change you can change your vocal cords to a way where you can speak a language. You can either speak the Garou language, which for all intents and purposes of the stream is just English, because I'm not going to try and get you to learn a fictional language. But also, or you can just talk, you can just speak English to each other. But the Garou language probably makes more sense because you're lupus. But you are skilled enough as shape changes that you can change just your vocal cords to talk while you're walking around. So you don't need to change shape to speak, unless you choose to. It's up to you.
I would assume that it would basically be they're both in wolf form and they're just speaking to each other in that language, but we're just gonna, for the sake of it, we're speaking English.
And I understand Garou because that's my language, right?
Yeah, that's what you were raised to speak,
So, yeah.
You might not speak it well because you don't have the apparatus for it yet, but you'd understand it. Yeah.
So we're barking and howling and snarling, snarling, doing all those noises as we talk.
So Anna will kind of like look over and says, I don't see why we have to do this. Nobody held our hand when we changed.
Yeah, well, for you just changed while you were like in the wild, basically. You were running around as a wolf, and then one day you turned into a Krynos shape, and were just like, went ape shit, and we're just like, okay, I guess I'm a werewolf.
Tinder will respond in a sort of like semi-defensive way, because I feel like that's how she would just naturally be. This is like her cub almost. And she would just say, well, every circumstance is different, isn't it?
Anna's gonna look over and just be like, it shouldn't be. We have our ways and traditions, and she's breaking them.
It's not her fault. She didn't ask for this.
I just hear. what she mutters within her breath.
You'll hear like almost like a sigh, just like a exasperated sigh, and she's gonna go quiet for a few minutes.
In those quiet few minutes, Tender will notice like a kind of like a presence sort of in the Umbra, which is that spiritual realm that Thaddeus passed through earlier. A kind of presence there. If you're not, yeah, you feel it before you see it, and as you kind of focus your attention, and you can't do this just yet, Gwen, but both Tender and Anna can do it. They sort of focus your attention to see through like the mundane reality of things, to pass the veil, to see the spiritual world beyond. You see wrapped around a tree a serpent, like an impossibly long serpent, and as you look down through the rows of trees, it's wrapped around these trees, as far as your eye can see. Like, this thing must be miles long, and it's wrapped around these trees, and it's got the only thing that kind of, besides its immense size, the only thing that really differentiates it is it's got horns, and it sort of looks at you, and it's the totem of your tribe. You recognize this, the horn serpent.
I've been told tales. Tender told me a lot of tales about the spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tender and Anna notice it first. They kind of you kind of manifest to your vision as well, Gwen. And it says, and it kind of you honor this. Both Anna and Tender, you honor this spirit. It's the spirit of your tribe. It's the almost the wellspring of your abilities in many respects, and it kind of looks between you, that like it's sort of like the bobbing serpent head, and it says, you bring a cub, or a cub to be. Will you not speak?
Is it speaking? Yeah, is it speaking to Anna and Tender?
It just seems to be speaking. You can't
Or
really
in
tell.
general?
You can't really tell who it's speaking to.
I feel like Tender would sort of take this stance of submission, so to speak.
Yeah.
Same with Anna. She would kind of like bow her head a little in respect.
And she'll answer and say, we hope that you accept her as we have.
Time will tell. Time will tell. It's not about acceptance just yet. It is about reawakening the spirit in the flesh. Are you? And then the serpent head kind of winds like a figure eight around Anna and Tender before getting right in Gwen's face, saying, "Are you ready?"
Are you ready?
Well, it always starts with fear and rage. And there's no better way, I've found, than this. And you hear, not far behind you, like an angry roar, like a guttural roar, and you recognize it from being in the forest enough. That's a bear, and a bear. Even for you, like, you would think like a bear. You're in that form that you have when you're still, you're strong. You probably maybe take a bear, but if you turn to look, this bear is big. Like, it's no bear that you've ever seen. It's like a grizzly bear from like primitive times. It's immense, and it sort of roars in your face furiously, and the river serpent kind of bobs its head and says, "Run now, run," and sort of encourages you to flee as fast as you can.
Cool.
Okay.
Getting real.
I'm gonna try to flee.
Okay, so as and you'll notice, Tender and Anna, that the bear pays you no mind, and being as you can tell, this is part of like the spiritual trial, so to speak. It would make sense for you not to interfere. Whether you can if you want to, but from your knowledge is that this is like not something that you wouldn't interfere with this because this is ordained by spirits. Yeah.
Anna sits down on her haunches and just kind of has like that wolfish grin on his face as he's watching.
That's the scratch with the foot behind me. But Gwen, you run and the bear is behind you this entire time. You can feel the heavy footsteps like falling on the earth behind you, and thud, thud, and they seem to be getting. You can hear like the growling and the warm breath of the bear on the back of your neck, and you're running. But no matter how fast you seem to run, it seems to be getting closer and closer on you, bearing in on you. And then you can feel sort of something inside you, like warm and that wasn't there before. Like maybe there was an ember, but now the ember is broken out into a fire, and it's sort of you feel like you would let it sort of engulf you, then something, maybe that something could help you, because you think all you feel right now is that feeling that you've never really felt before, which is like being prey. Like a predator is like, you're not an apex predator at this point, you're a prey animal almost. Mm-hmm. And it's bearing down on you, and if you feel like you could let that fire go and something wonderful could happen. Is that what you want to do?
Yes.
So as you sort of let that go, you move and you run, and then you find yourself getting lower to the ground, and your legs get longer, and your body gets more streamlined and angular. And then as you're running, you realize that the heavy footsteps and the breathing is no longer there, and you move until finally you come to a river, and you come to a stop, and you see your reflection in the river, and what's looking back at you is a pale albino wolf, not the werewolf, not the Krynos warrior form that you were born in and you spent your entire life in. It's an actual wolf. And and the spirit, you don't see it this time, but you hear the horned serpent spirit just to say very pleasantly, like, "I'll be seeing you." And
she's gonna like hop a few times around. And then she's gonna like sprint with this like newfound like speed.
Yeah.
Back to wherever they were at the beginning. Before like she tried to lose the big scary bear.
Yeah. One thing I'll note, just before we sort of fade away into our next first change prologue, you will note that on the other side of the river, looking at you, is a big, like a tall, burly man with like a beard that sort of stretches down to almost his stomach. Broad shoulders, tall, much bigger than you'd think like a human, which you've never seen before, except in homid form. So you've never seen like a proper human, and you don't even know if this is one of them. He's sort of standing on the other side, and he's dressed in kind of like a flannel top and like jeans and weathered boots, and he kind of like chuckles to himself, and he's already walking away into the woods before you can
like
sort of...
when I like...
While you're doing your hopping and celebrating.
Okay.
And that's where we'll fade out on your prologue.
Huh.
And so, Jenna and Fen, you have NPCs.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom really
We can do a quick
fast,
intermission if that helps everybody. Do you want to do a quick intermission?
Sure.
I wouldn't mind. Yeah.
Intermission time. We'll be right back, everybody. I'll be talking in the chat and doing all my requisite thank yous and things that I didn't do
I'll be
because I
right
was.
back.
All right. Intermission time.
It's been hard in America. It's been tough feeling sad. It's been hard in America. I never thought it'd get so bad. I wish that I had a big jet plane, fly the tears away. Maybe I'd find a river so wide and drift away all of the pain. But it seems there's more to do. There's more to love we've yet to find. Oh yeah, it's true, we may stumble through, but all we have is precious time. It's hard to see in America, the sand thrown in your eyes. It's hard to speak in America when every word creates divide. But it seems that we're all the same. We all need love and hope, a little grace. And yeah, it's true, it's so hard to do, to find it all right here in this place. It's hard to rest in America, the weight upon your chest. It's hard to stay here in America when it feels like there's nothing left. There's a reason why we don't give up. There's a future here, my Lord, I pray. And yeah, it's true, if we can make it through all this, we might be better off one day. So find the light in America, in its hollow ancient eyes. Try to smile in America, 'cause it matters every time. It matters every time.
And we're back. I hope yeah, we can be heard. Good. I hope everybody enjoyed my little intermission song that I put on
relaxing.
there. Yes. I thought of initially using like more like sort of pumped up like angry music to go with Werewolf, but then I was like, I kind of prefer the more sad, somber tones, if I'm perfectly honest, because I feel like that fits the theme of the story where like you're fighting to save the world, but has the world already like ended and you just don't know it yet?
Is the world worth saving?
Yes. Well, they would say yes, but they would say, is there enough left to save? It would be more the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it too late type of deal?
They're more fighting because they don't really know what else to do.
Yeah, they're just like, we fight because we fight, and we're made to fight, but at this point, it's like, is it a losing battle and we just fight until we all die?
It's a lost cause.
Yeah. So then this next story is about Floki, our Get of Fenris, or soon-to-be Get of Fenris character. Potentially Get of Fenris, we don't know. Well, we do know, but I'm just trying to make mysterious about it. And this takes place in... Well, where would you say it takes place, Steve?
Somewhere like far north in like really colder areas. So either like Washington or even Alaska.
Okay, so I think Alaska works for the story we're telling, because that's where the Cairn of the Polar Bear is, and that's where
Yeah, that's where I went.
yeah, that's where they took Thaddeus, or where they left Thaddeus. So that makes sense. Your experience is a lot different to Gwen's experience or Thaddeus' experience. For one, also actually before I start, I'll point out that Fen, you have a character to play in the journal. His name.
I found it.
Did you find it?
Harold.
Yeah, Harold. Yep.
Yeah.
And you have one as well, Jenna. Did I not give it? I don't think I've said it for you though. Let me
I
just do
don't
that.
think I have it yet.
Yeah. Okay, 1 second. There, you should have it now.
There we go.
So, I'll
Ooh, she looks mean.
I'll sort of explain who your characters are as you enter the story. But we'll start off with where Steve is. Steve, you are a member of the kinfolk, which is just a sort of blanket term that the Garu use for humans that aren't affected by like the paralyzing memory reducing fear that other humans are. You were born sort of around Garu. Like, obviously you're kept separate from them because it's not like a big happy family. It's more like they are our cousins who go off and do these, these wild things, and we sort of hear stories about them. And maybe as kids, we hope that we're going to be one, but we don't know. But the idea is that maybe Gaia will bless us, maybe she won't. But you've always been told from a young age that that's where you're going. Like your parents heard a prophecy told by one of the theurges of the Garu Sept that your little compound is located near. And she thought you were going to be a great warrior, and kind of told your parents this. Your mother was a Garu warrior. You had very little connection with her throughout your life. Like, it was more your father who was a kinfolk who was there, sort of raising you. I think that's what we. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Sorry, sometimes I forget. So yeah, and was there raising you, and all Garu are very standoffish even with their offspring, because they just don't have the time. They've got other things to do. And also when you're a constant, boiling furnace of rage that can possibly spill over and turn into a murder machine, you don't really want to be around children that much. because it's not a good, it's not a healthy idea. So you didn't see it very often, but there was always this prophecy sort of in place that you were going to be like an all-star warrior, and that's like the Get Offenders. Being a warrior is great. Being a great warrior is, that's what they all aspire to. They are a tribe of fighters, and as their kinfolk, you've all been your ancestry goes back to the Vikings and the Nordic raids and stuff. You sort of drifted away from just doing raids now, but your family, even the non-Garu members of your family, have been taught to fire a gun, fight, survive off the land, because what they do is they kind of play the foot soldier role, and you haven't been involved in one yourself because you're not of age yet, but they go out and they attack oil refineries in the area. All those sorts of things they do, they help with that. Like when the Garu from the Sept want to go out and do stuff, the kinfolk facilitate it. But you've always been told you're going to be a Garu, and you've sort of gotten a bit older now, and it's maybe like a fraction past when would be the normal time for a first change to happen, and your father's sort of trying to be breaking it to you gently, like, don't no, even if you don't become a Garu, you can still fight the good fight. We're still here. We're still valuable. He's trying to break it to you like that. Your mother's been coming around less and less. You haven't even really seen her in a year, and she doesn't live far away. You haven't really seen her though. She's always got something going on, and if you mention it to your dad, he's like, well, I don't really have any control over that. But what you do have is your friend Harold, who is also a kinfolk. His parents are both kinfolk as well, but he has like a Garu in his family, 2 generations back or something. He was sort of raised alongside you. You've known each other since you were children, like small children. And he's always been, very keen to kind of, cheer you on. He's been your number one cheerleader, but not the kind of cheerleader that you'd throw to a werewolf that's frenzied. He's been your number one cheerleader. Really sort of, even when it sort of became less and less maybe I'm not going to change, I'm not going to have my first change. He's like, no, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You got to believe in yourself. So yeah, you find yourselves just sort of in the compound. So you live very separate from society. You're not in a neighborhood or a town or anything. You live in a compound which is populated by kinfolk, and they're basically all related to you in some way. Not close relations, but distant cousins and all that stuff. You all kind of live, and it's no accident. The Garu want you to live there because you're the stock from which they make new werewolves. We won't go into details, but that's basically why you all live there. And
breeding stock.
Yeah, well, that's right. It's exactly what the point is, because that's where you get a better chance of having a Garu be born. So it makes sense to have all of the kinfolk in an area that's near the Sept. Not in the Sept, because if you have them too close by, then if someone rages, you end up with a bunch of dead kinfolk. But nearby, nearby, so they can visit. It's a weird setup, and that's just one of the things about the Garu. They have strange setups. They have some strange beliefs, and they're not always heroic in what they want to do. But yeah, you and Harold are in the compound. You're a bit too old to just go out playing, but you're passing time because you don't really have anything else to do. Your chores are done. You don't have any training with the rifles or anything at the moment, so you're just kind of hanging out. So I'll let you and Harold hang out for a second.
Floki will look at Harold and be like, "So what should we do with the rest of the day? We don't have anything else to do."
I don't know, bruh. I made these like new prototype of the slingshot. Do you want to try it? You could like find some like I don't know, branch or something, put it on top of something, and try to like shoot it and see how effective it is.
Hell yeah.
Okay, cool. Here, take
Whoever
it.
hits the most has to do the other's chores in the morning.
What? No. Like, what the fuck, bruh? Like, no, that's not fair. You always beat my ass. Nah. I'm tired of doing chores for you. This is not. I'm not falling for it anymore. I've known you too long.
Fine.
Okay, let's find a good place to like perch some shit to shoot at. Yeah.
Let's do it.
So while you
Go find
guys,
some empty beer bottles and line them up.
are doing all that, I'll explain. There's another person in the compound today, not a kinfolk. Her name is Clea Wormslayer. She is a Garu and a Round, which you know is a. You don't really know the inner workings of it, but she's a warrior. She's a very well-regarded warrior, and she also happens to be Floki's aunt. She's not ready to give up on Floki and this prophecy. She's always been very, very focused on Floki sort of keeping up the family name, like making sure that there's a, that someone of her blood is like the next generation of mighty warriors within the Sept. And she's come today with a decision. And the decision is, if Floki isn't going to change on his own, she's going to force it. And the best way to do that is to make Floki angry. So Clea is here with a very intense purpose. Floki needs to be mad and needs to change. And it's going to happen. And she's damn sure it's going to happen. Just needs a push. And Claire, I will say you would not want to do it here in the compound, because if it does work, it's the worst place for it to happen. So, but that's why you're here. And it's up to you how you go about that or what you plan to do. And you...
Question.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Because I have an idea on how I can achieve that goal.
Yes.
They went outside of the camp. Sorry, my brain zoned out.
Yeah, no, definitely. We would go like
You guys
somewhere.
are, like,
There's probably
outside
like
playing with your
some woods, right?
animal
Or whatever.
outskirts. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So like that's where we would go.
That's
Into
right,
the woods, like find like maybe a little clearing or whatever, set up some vases or bottles if we find some whatever, like to just like shoot at with the slings that I prepared. Made. New prototype. 3.5.
Yep. That's right.
Yep.
They're out of the compound.
Sharpshooter.
Yep.
You'd come across
Takes
them
a little
doing their
longer to
slingshot.
like pull, but it has more range. Yeah.
When you find them, they'd be getting like their slingshot thing set up.
They're playing with their slingshots.
Yeah.
Cool. And they're in human form, correct? They're just humans.
Well, they're humans as far as like it works.
Yeah,
They can't change or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I just wanted to make sure I was following, because like I said, my brain zoned out for a second. She is going to, by the way, I'm not going to do anything yet until you're ready for me to do things, but I have an idea, and if you want me to just go with it, I'll go with it.
Sure.
She's going to be she saw them leaving with, going to hang out and do whatever it is they were doing, and she kind of followed at a safe distance to not kind of be seen, and she is hiding in the vicinity of the woods that they've found themselves in as they're like setting up their little slingshot targets and talking and things.
Yeah. Do you? Well, you guys can keep. If you want to slingshot and chat a little bit more, or we can see what Clear's plan is and launch right into it. It's up to you guys.
Okay.
Floki's
guys are
just like, nice shot.
Hanging
Let's take 20 feet. Let's step back 20 more feet. See how far we can hit him.
Yeah, I think this has like more range. I agree. Yeah, let's scooch back a little bit and see. Another like 10 feet. 10 feet.
Yeah, and we just
Okay.
kind of shoot and scoot back.
Okay, so question.
Yeah.
I want her to be in a different form. I don't want her to be in like a human form.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I want her, like, I'm assuming since she's older and she's this like established warrior, she has a lot of control.
Oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely, yeah.
In any form. Okay. So I'll have her go into the, what is it?
Krynos form.
Krynos?
That's the werewolf form, yeah. Krynos.
Which she's, I would assume, being this clan or whatever they call them.
Yeah,
she's
silvery,
very large.
Yeah, very big, like silvery fur and
Right.
grey and scary.
Yeah, she's real scary. And she is going, as they're preoccupied, she is going to reach out and, unbeknownst, like, you guys didn't even really know she had crept up into where you guys were. And she's going to reach out and grab this guy. What's his name? What's
Harold.
your friend? Harold.
Harold.
And she's not trying to hurt him or anything. But she very clearly sort of grabs him. And I mean, this is an alarming sight as this huge werewolf. She's scary by default.
Yeah, Harold is gonna do a little bitch scream.
Floki's just gonna be like, would Floki recognize his aunt in her form?
Probably not in this form. You know, like, because you're kinfolk, you don't suffer like the paralyzing, crippling fear that normally comes with seeing a werewolf in this form. But you wouldn't because your aunt doesn't like hang around the compound. Like, you would know your aunt if she was in a human form, but she doesn't hang around the compound like this. So you just notice you know what it is because you know what a werewolf is. You might have seen them from in a distance, but you don't know particularly which werewolf it is. Yeah.
Seeing that, he'll like take a step back and be like, Harold.
Oh, bro, what the fuck?
She's gonna sort of, what her goal basically is she wants to. Harold is in immediate danger, obviously. This werewolf has shown up and is attempting to toy with Harold in whatever sort of way. And she's kind of like jostling him around, kind of manhandling him. Like I said, she's in control. She's not trying to actually hurt him. He might accidentally get hurt because she's big and strong.
Yeah.
But her intention isn't to like actually hurt him or kill him. But she's trying to like rouse this anger inside of her nephew as she's like toying with his best friend and putting him in immediate danger and seeing if this will ignite anything inside him. So that's what she does. She's kind of taunting him, and a series of sort of events happens where Harold is like the object of her attention, and he's just being shoved around and like manhandled, and she's like snarling and growling. At Floki, like, what are you gonna do about it, huh? You gonna let him get killed?
Floki's like, please let him go. We were just goofing around. And as it continues, like, he's definitely starting to get angry.
Help me,
when he pleads like that, she will sort of reach out and kind of like use her open hand to kind of like hit his chest, like, which would
be like being hit by a bus. Like, it's not going to do damage because Claire has control, but it would feel like being hit by a bus. Floki, you would go like toppling if you don't like.
If you fall backwards, I'm assuming.
Because that's like that's like just raw strength, just like striking you. And I will point out that even though Claire has like real like fine control, even in this Krynos form, the rage
it hurts like hell.
That and the rage that's like always like that comes to the surface like this would probably mean that Harold's getting like not going to come out of this with like, you know, completely fine. Like Harold's probably going to come out of this with like cuts and scrapes, maybe like broken ribs and stuff. Like Harold is suffering.
He's
right
getting
now.
hurt.
Yeah,
she's not trying to kill him, but
Yeah.
She's really
I'm
strong.
gonna have like maybe like a broken arm and like some broken ribs and shit. So yeah, like he's probably at this point is like,
After she pushes him,
Yeah.
he's starting to get angry. He's gonna like rush towards them and
Yeah.
he's probably gonna try to take a swing at her just with his puny little human baby fist.
Much to your surprise.
Okay. Well, like no, that happens. Like he swings at you with like a tiny fist, and and like it doesn't. You don't really feel anything. That's blunt. That's damage. Like even if he had managed to like hurt you, that kind of damage is stuff that like in 3 seconds it's knitted itself back together. So like maybe he hits you and you maybe like you get jarred a little bit, but you barely feel it because it just sort of knits itself up, the injury. So you find yourself that you've just punched what feels like the side of a barn, and the barn is like not really reacting to being punched. Or maybe it does. We'll ask the barn.
I think she would probably just look at him and continue to kind of snarl and growl and roar, because she's trying to push him as far as she can push him, obviously.
And
He's
definitely
getting there.
Yeah, he's getting very angry, and he's just gonna keep on attacking even if she's pushing him away, and as he's just getting angrier and angrier. And
so, Clea, this would like being punched like this, even though your motive, what your motive is. Like the sort of the bestial instinct doesn't really understand it that way. So you're getting angrier and angrier at this, not only because you're getting punched, but because it's what you want to happen. It's not happening yet. Like and that's making your fist tighten, and that is making Harold. You're feeling the tighter squeeze around your middle. Like it's like breathing has become like impossible.
I can't breathe.
Floki is gonna like let out just basically a scream, and is there like a stick? He'll grab a stick and try to hit her with that.
So, as you grab the stick and you sort of strike Clea in the head, and Clea, I'm gonna say because you're like the rage is like you're in a rune. So basically, and a rune is a Garu born under a full moon. You have the most rage of any other werewolf, Auspice, and you are constantly struggling to keep that under control. You're built to be angry and fighting. So when Floki strikes you with that branch, you fling Harold away. Like you're just like you're done with that. Now you're angry and you're gonna focus on the thing that's causing you this anger. And it's not he's causing you the anger in many ways. Like one, he's hitting you, which is annoying.
Right.
And two, he is not doing what you want him to do, which is change into a werewolf. So when you kind of throw Harold away, Harold like strikes a tree and just kind of ends up slumped on the ground. And looking over Floki, you will see Harold is not okay. Like Harold is either unconscious, his features are like greyish pale, there's blood trickling from his mouth. Not just trickling, like he's throwing up blood. And he does not and his middle's all scratched up from where this Garu was like shaking, like holding him and shaking him like a toy, like an action figure, just like look at this guy. And that is when you feel that boiling sort of furnace in your chest spill over. And when I described it for Gwen and when I described it for Thaddeus, it was for Gwen, it was a sort of like a warmth that she kind of embraced. For Thaddeus, it was a heat that kind of a response to fear and like threat. But for Floki, this is it's different. It's like it's sparks, but it's not a massive fire. It's like almost like something in your brain has said, you know what you could do, and in that instance, you change. Your body contorts and twists in a painful way. Bones snap, muscle like rips free of bone to realign itself on you, and you are then at the end of it, you find yourself standing face to face with this werewolf, but face to face. You are no longer like a little tiny boy in front of this giant werewolf. You may actually even be taller, and you have the control. Like you have that second of control, but it's fleeting. You know you're going to lose it, because a first change is not something that's easily controlled. Even when your rage is not as boiling and bubbling as it might be for others. So
I feel like after seeing Harold get hurt, he wouldn't even try to control it. He's ready to fight.
So I'll cut into something like a cinematic then. Floki has lost like any rational control, and what you'll find, Clea, is that all that anger is kind of replaced with like this sort of red hot like glee. You're like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted to happen. You're like delighted, and you can like, even though he's stronger and bigger and quicker because he's like giving into his rage, but you are a more practiced warrior in this form, and you don't. I'm not going to go through all the rolling because I don't feel like it's necessary. But you can kind of like, you can toy with him, you know, and tire him out enough. Like he gets some good scrapes in, and you're gonna feel them. And like these sorts of injuries don't heal. They don't heal overnight, like or instantly, like the other injuries. They're nasty and they take time. But you're gonna feel this, and it's gonna hurt you. But you don't. He doesn't really manage to do permanent injury to you, and you kind of throw him around a bit, and then at the end of it all, you will Floki awakens with nothing. There's no pool of blood for him, but he awakens. You feel kind of rough, like you've been thrown around, but Clea was clever enough not to give you any kind of wounds that you wouldn't heal. Like, whereas you were scratching and biting, Clea was like using the backhand and kicking and stuff. So not actually putting any. But you will. When you wake up, you're back in the compound. You are back. You are in the. In your bed. You're all tucked in. Clea is there. But Clea is in her human homid form. And she looks worse for wear too, like some scratches and bruises. But a noticeable absence is Harold as you wake up.
He's gonna look over at Cleo. Where's Harold? Is he all right?
Clea, no, he's not. He is he is no longer alive. And I feel bad because Fen keeps getting like the short straw on his character.
Okay. Sorry, Harold.
But yeah, Harold is
needed to be done.
Yeah. So yeah, you can you know that Harold is dead.
When he kind of wakes up in a panic and is worried for his friend, she'll sort of kind of just lean forward and like gently, kind of in a very like motherly way of trying to calm their child, pat his chest and say, "Don't worry about that now, dear. Rest."
He's gonna. I mean, he knows his aunt, so he's gonna respect her. He's not gonna like argue with her. But he's gonna be like, "Is he gonna be okay?"
I feel like Clea, because of her life, she knows like you're gonna lose a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
also,
this is
for
like
Clea,
something he's gonna have to get used to.
For Clea, this is just a natural thing that had to happen. Like Clea wouldn't feel particularly guilty about this. Like people would frown because it's kinfolk, and kinfolk, you know, you don't want to go around just murdering them, you know. But Clea's like, this is like a sacrifice that kind of had to be made.
Yeah, right. I feel like that's very much how she would justify it. And she there's not necessarily a sense of regret. She just kind of feels bad because she knows that her nephew, being the type of warriors that they are, they're surrounded by a lot of death, and they lose a lot of people that they care about, and it kind of makes them calloused over time. But he's so young and hasn't kind of experienced that. So she just does her best to kind of just distract him and calm him down and be like, this is something you're just going to have to get prepared for, because Harold's not going to be the only one.
And I think we can...
He's going to start to cry a little bit.
As Floki cries, I think we can fade out of that prologue. And I think
Harold is going to come into your dreams and tell you that he's happy for you, and he's happy that he could be the one to like help you.
He's like, goodbye, bro. As he floats away. Yeah.
Be a hero, bro. He's like, that's what he's gonna leave you with. He's like, I'm so proud, bro. It's fine, I'm dead, but be a hero.
And Floki,
I'll never forget you.
You wake up from that dream. It is. I'm not saying you've been asleep this whole time, but you wake up and this is a transition to the time about 3 years later. You are no longer at the compound that you grew up in. You are instead at a place called the Sept of the Polar Bear. We'll go into it at a later point why you're here now. Thaddeus, this is also where you have ended up. Again, we'll go into it. And obviously, Gwen, this is where you grew up, and you are the cub with the most experience. But it's a very small cairn. So you three are the only cubs here. Tender of Wounds is the den mother, who is basically the Garu in charge of like training you and keeping you all from doing stupid things. The elder, who is the leader of the Sept, is, you just know them as grandmother, the impossibly old Garu. And there's the worm foe, as they call her, the Garu who's kind of charged with keeping the evil out and protecting the cairn, is called Anna Bitterheart. And you are the only Garu there. You are basically the only people that any of you have seen in the last 3 years. Since you came here. It's so far remote, you don't go to towns. There's no towns. So for you, Thaddeus, it will be a bit of an extreme change in that you no longer live amongst humans. You live amongst mostly a cairn that's dominated by lupus Garu. Mm-hmm. So they're mostly either in their Krynos form, the big monster werewolf form, or their wolf form. And this is where you've been. And I think we will close the session there and go into and next session we can sort of cover how you got there and sort of go into your earlier situations. But that's where you all are now. You're in a small cairn in Alaska in the far north. You've all had sort of interesting first change experiences. Fen has died twice.
Pretty much. She was thrown to a wolf, and then she was juggled by a wolf.
She juggled to death. And I think we'll call it there. I'm hoping to do more of these. I don't know how frequently we will, because I don't like eating into all of Jenna's free time. So we'll be working on that. We may be adding some more characters as we go. But yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you for all the raids and follows. Thank you, Fat Guy Skinny, for the 100 bits. I'm sorry I didn't get to say thank you at the time. Once I get started, I feel reluctant to kind of drop out and address chat too much while they're playing, because it's sort of, I want to keep it sort of moving along for everybody. But I had a good fun. And I know that we had some people who are very, aware of Werewolf and how it works and stuff. Thank you again for the 100 bits. Who are aware of how it plays and stuff and a lot of the lore. And I know that I'm not perfect with it, but I do try my best. And I tend to sort of, just sort of make up my own stuff when it doesn't when I'm not 100% sure. I also try to veer away from rules a lot of the time because I think it's more fun to just let people describe what they want to do. And if there's, I feel like a storytelling system like Werewolf is designed for someone's Discord is going mental. I don't know whose it is. It might be mine. No, I'm on stream mode.
Weird.
The Werewolf video game, there's one called Heart of the Forest, which I liked, and Earthblood I did not like and stopped playing. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to keeping this story going. I've got a lot of stuff already sort of hidden away. I'd like to thank my 3 players here because they did a great job of each of them taking on an NPC to play through the story. And I gave them no sort of prior knowledge of those NPCs. I just kind of said, "Here, play this," and I think they all did very well. And I'm very grateful.
Damn thing.
And next time I ask you to do something like that, I promise I will give you more pointers ahead of time. Because I played an NPC on Jenna's vampire game, and Jenna was kind enough to actually tell me who the NPC was before the game started.
Well, I mean, that's just my Virgo brain. I can't do anything otherwise. I'm overly prepared all the time. It's fine. But not everyone is like that, so it's fine.
Well, I mean, I prepared these like a week ago. I just forgot to tell you about them. Because I have I don't know, what's the opposite of that? Sloppy, messy brain. Yeah, or if you're interested in finding out more, or like when I'm going to do it again, you can check out my Instagram. I also have a Twitter that I rediscovered today, so I've been using that. So you can check out there. Also, my Discord has all of the. I put all the notices up on there. I also put calls out when if people are interested in playing. My YouTube is where I'm going to be uploading this video. I'm going to try and edit it, but I probably won't because I've tried to edit before and I'm like, this takes too long.
Yeah.
And I think
It's
I might.
a process.
Yeah. But yeah, I will upload it, so it's going to be there for posterity because the VODs disappear after a short amount of time. Thank you, Evelyn, for the raid, and thank you, the Onyx Path, who are the people who published this game, who raided me, which was really cool. Thank you for that. I'm going to be running some more games, hopefully. Also, before I start talking about that, I will be on Jenna's stream, which is Night Prophecies, which I can shout out now. I really use my own commands, so I think that's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to be on that starting the end of April. I don't know I can't remember the exact date.
Yes, April 30th.
April 30th.
Well, it's not April 30th for us. It's because we're from the future.
Okay, so
it's the first for us.
I'll put it up on Discord with the little timestamp code that tells you exactly what it is.
Yes.
And I'm going to be playing in that game as well as eventually sort of passing the storyteller role back and forth. So that'll be good. That's going to be a game of Vampire the Masquerade, the 5th edition, which is always a lot of fun. And they've already got like a nice kind of world built up, so it'll be interesting to sort of move into that. Yes, and I'm also I'm going to be running a game of Shadowrun at some point. I'm still gathering players for that, so if you like Shadowrun, let me know. I'll work out times and stuff. It's not a problem. And what else? That's it. The stream is now finished. So thank you, everybody. We'll find someone to raid now. I'm terrible at finding someone to raid. Let's raid Gideon. Gideon's there. That's my reason. So
yeah,
raid Gideon.
You have been chosen.
So there's going to be more of these Werewolf streams. I'm not sure exactly when they'll be. This is not the usual time slot because this is the Night Prophecies time slot, which we're only using because they're on a season break. So there'll be. We'll find. I'll let everyone know. That'll all be, up to date in my Instagram and in my on my Discord. If there's other games that you If you want to be, if you're interested in Shadowrun, let me know. If you're interested in any kind of role-playing game that you've always wanted to play, but you're not good at storytelling, or you don't want to storytell, or DM or GM or whatever they call it, let me know because I'm happy to do that. This is my favorite thing to do. I don't really enjoy. I enjoy playing, but I don't enjoy playing as much as I enjoy DMing because it's like having like the console commands for people. So I enjoy that, and plus it means I can be like creative. Cool. All right, so let's raid Gideon, and I will thank everybody for being here. Thank you very much. I should shout out everybody here who. Let's also shout out Jenna who has a stream, and shout out Fen who has a stream. Yay! Oh, T beat me to it. Steve, you don't stream, do you?
Just on Night Prophecies at the moment.
Yeah, and Steve will pop up on like Fenn's stream as well, so you can find Steve. I'll shout him out verbally over the medium of speech. Okay, so now we are going to raid Gideon, like I've said millions of times. Yeah. He's not called Steve on Twitch.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you everybody. Thank you all for being here. There will be more, hopefully. I need to rest now because I wasn't feeling 100% today, but I managed to get through all of the prologues, which is what I wanted to do. So hooray! Thank you everybody that followed. Thank you everyone for the bits. Thank you for the raids.
Thank you everybody.
Thank you everything. And goodbye now. I will wave to the camera, and when I see myself waving, I will push raid so I know that I'm not going to cut myself off. Here we go.
Love it. Oh, by the way,